Hi everyone, my name is Hazel and I own Hazel Gardiner Designs, and I'm here with SumUp to answer your questions on how to break through the barriers stopping you from either launching or pivoting your business. I'm really excited to be speaking about this topic with SumUp as part of one of their small business experts because how do we begin? How do you start? How do you pivot once you get going? It's been really hard times for all of us, and I know that many of you watching may have had to think about the changes that you've got to implement in your business. You might find that really scary, or you might think, how do I start in this climate? And you might just be stuck even more if you were thinking about launching. A bit about me, that I own Hazel Gardiner Designs, and we do kind of large installations for lots of brands. We work on campaigns, editorials, flower deliveries, weddings. So of course I've had to adapt myself, and I've also owned a previous business. I had my own vintage and retail company before this, and that went through different ebbs and flows, and I had to change that up quite a few times. So I feel like I'm really experienced in talking about this. So thank you for all your questions. So let's dive straight in. So the first one is, have you any tips using social media to drive a business forward? So answer is absolutely. I think when I first started my first business, it was called Rag & Bow, the roaming vintage store, and I actually started it just on MySpace. This shows how old I am. So it was a really powerful tool, and it's still, social media has just got obviously so much bigger, and with the advent of Instagram, Facebook, and then Twitter, it's really easy for you to start a business without having that massive PR and marketing budget, because there is something really strengthening in word of mouth. So I would absolutely say that you should definitely be on social media. I think that's one of the first things I did. As soon as you have your business idea, I would definitely go and get your URL for your website, but then also just go and get all your names over all the social media sites. Because you don't want to launch a business and further down the line realize that you can't get your Twitter handle, you can't get your Instagram. So I would definitely do that. And then I think the most important thing with social media is just to keep it really cohesive and keep the continuity with your tone, with your brand tone, with your imagery. So people, wherever they're finding you, they always see that harmony. I think that's really important for branding. So it's not confusing and everything just really looks beautiful across all the different platforms. I would definitely do that. And I know it can be really scary to kind of use social media, so just use it in the way that's authentic to you and your brand. But definitely, it's a must have. And some of you might think that might have more of a visual business, so you might prefer to use Instagram. It might be more kind of, Facebook might be more your demographic. It really, really depends. So you've got to use the social media platform that you feel comfortable with, and B, the one that resonates best with your target audience. And you can find that out by, just thinking from your business plan, who you actually trying to target, and seeing, which demographic uses which platform the most. So the second question is, when do I know the right time to make my part-time hustle into a full-time gig? And this is a question I get asked lots, when do you make that move? So again, it depends. You might already have a job and you might feel that you don't want to leave that immediately. And, if you haven't got any kind of financial, support or savings. So that's just a real top line thing. You never want to leave. If you're in a job, you want to make sure that you have enough savings or enough kind of support financially to be able to do that. So I think that's obviously a top tip. But then you might find that you can't actually put yourself fully into your new business until you leave your old one. And I think that is the time. That is the sweet spot where you need to make that decision to leave. But so in my experience, when I had Rag & Bow, I had actually been ill, so I had a long time to kind of ruminate, sort out my business plan. I wasn't actually working, and then I had time to kind of save and I had a good kind of support anchor before I launched that business. So that's how I did my first business. And then when I launched Hazel Gardiner Floral Designs, it was quite different because I was kind of temping whilst I was working out what I wanted to do after closing my vintage clothing company. So it was a much more considered step. And I definitely just saved and saved and saved. And you know, I was going to the flower market and then going into my job and then doing commissions after and then working weekends. So there is going to be sacrifice when you start your own business. Which I know is super hard, especially if you have children, but it's just trying to make it work for you. You don't ever want to, you know, run yourself into the ground. But yeah, it's just, you just have to do it at the right time when you know you're not going to freak out about money, basically. Then again, if you have a business and you might have investment at the very beginning, so it will be slightly different depending on what your business model is. But I think obviously once you know that it's something successful, that could be at the, you know, people have invested in it and you actually haven't sold anything, but you know that people have validated, you know, your idea, whether that's your bank manager, whether that's, you know, as I say, people invested and you've done some research, you know that it's a good product or service, or you're starting out and you've already dipped your toe in, you've still got your toe in another job and you can see your part-time hustle is increasing more and more and more. The point where you literally can't, you know, move it forward. Again, that's the sweet spot for when you should leave. That's kind of what I did. Coming on to the third question, how do you overcome blocks? I've hit a brick wall of how to drum up business. So this is something that we all face, whether you've been in business 1 year or 10. You know, it's always, once you launch, it doesn't stop there. Your business, you always have to keep thinking about it, reassessing, analysing. I think that's really important to do that because I know obviously getting to launch is such a massive achievement, but you shouldn't forget that you still need to keep listening to your audience, to your consumers once you have your business up and running. So I would say to get rid of a block, which is so easy because we get bogged down in the day-to-day. We're busy, you know, us entrepreneurs are always juggling 1,001 things. And it's easy just to kind of like stuck in the day-to-day, and then you've taken your foot off the pedal, and then you're in a kind of, you know, in a kind of grey space in what you need to do. So what I would do is I would do some proper kind of like data analysis, do some like surveys, send out a survey, people can, you know, get 10% off or a free product or go win a prize in a competition to kind of get momentum going. But I think once you've hit a block, it's either asking other people to get their opinion on your business, and there's no better way to do that than using like a survey. It's a really great tool to get all that very specific information about your business from consumers, and it's really insightful. And from there you'll be able to kind of realize like what's missing, what do people want. Obviously the questions are really important, so really have a think about what intel, what you're trying to get at. Is it, you know, are people happy with your brand? Are people happy with your products? What do they want? What are their buying habits? You know, try and think of every question is so important. It's so gold. It's such a golden nugget of information. Yeah, so I would definitely say that, and also, you know, ask friends and family. They probably gone on the journey with you to launching your business, and I just think it's good to ask like a third party. Get it out of your head. You need to ask someone else, you know. And I know sometimes friends just want to say really positive things, so I wouldn't rely on that, but it's a good starting point. But definitely, yeah, just definitely ask your consumers. And then if you're still stuck, it might be the time to kind of get a business consultant or a branding consultant, depending on what you feel, what's the point that you've hit a brick wall with, or, you know, pay somebody. I'm a full believer in, we all know our limitations and there's a time to delegate, and that might be, you know, a really good investment for you if it's absolutely going to, you know, improve your revenue. And, you know, so I think it's worth investing in that if you feel that's the right way to go for you. Next question. People don't want to pay what my product is worth. Any tips on showing, you know, its true worth? So I get this quite a lot, and I'm a full believer in, it's a bit like if you're selling a white t-shirt, there are so many brands that sell white t-shirts, you know, from, you know, you can pay hundreds of pounds for a white t-shirt from Gucci, or you can go into Uniqlo and get one for £30. And why do people spend hundreds of pounds on one? And why do people spend £30 of one, where essentially they're exactly the same product, same percentage of cotton. So it's all about perception. So there might be a disconnect with what you're showing people about your product. This particular question was from a maker, and I think if you're making something, you are above in terms of how bespoke and custom made that is, above something that is mass produced. So that is the angle that you really need to tell people about. That is why if you're hand carving, a spoon out of wood, it should be a different price from something that people can get in, Tesco homeware department. So it's always communicating the value. As soon as people understand the perception of your value, then that should help them understand your price points. So there's obviously ways of doing that, just to be really, fly the biggest flag for yourself on your website. Say exactly what you do, why it's the quality that it is. You don't have to go into minute detail of how long it takes you, but I think visually people should be able to see very quickly who you're aimed at. So I think that goes hand in hand with photography, how you're presenting your work to the world, and yeah, it's really just about making sure that people really understand what goes into things. So if there's a bit of a disconnect between what people are seeing and the price, you can alleviate that with words, pictures, and just making sure that everybody understands why something's a certain price. I always say to my clients, because obviously with flowers, you get a lot of people who never have, ordered flowers before if they're doing it for a wedding. So they have a perception of flowers, which is probably from the supermarket or from letterbox flowers. And then they don't necessarily understand why a bouquet, an amazing bridal bouquet would cost the amount that it does. And I always believe that I can absolutely tell you why something costs as much as it does. It's very easy for me to do that because, it's not, I haven't just plucked the price out of the sky. There's very, nuanced ideas and about why that bouquet has cost the price that it is, and that's to do with picking lots of different varieties of stems, the size, the seasonality, it's British. So yeah, as long as I always think you should be able to tell a client, a consumer, why something costs the price that it does, and you don't need to kind of validate yourself, but you just need to really shout that if you're doing a custom made unique service, that is obviously gonna be a different price. And just remember to obviously make sure that people can see that in your photography. So it might be worth then investing, I know I did a lot of my photography at the beginning, but to really elevate my work, I have to get professional photographers involved, and that can completely change the cost of something. I used to work in fashion, so I know a lot of kind of fast fashion companies and people who've worked there, and you can reshoot one outfit and it will sell, where the other day with another photograph it didn't sell. So it really can be that immediate. So it just might be worth having a look at your brand as a whole and seeing where that perception and the disconnect with pricing and your actuality of your product is happening. Hope that helps. And then I got another question in: if you're a service provider, how do you make money from your craft today? So I suppose that means if you are, say that you're a hairdresser or you're a service provider and you've been affected by COVID and your business has stopped, you cannot do it, which has happened to so many of us. What actually happens then? What can you do? And I know that obviously I had this as well as a lot of you watching at the beginning of lockdown, because I'm pretty much 90% events-based work. So I had to pivot and do floral deliveries, which is actually something now, because I'm a studio florist, which means I don't have a retail store, but that is something that I will absolutely continue to do. So it's just about sitting down and thinking what can you do? And I know it's super scary, and there will be some situations where somebody will actually have to get another job temporarily. but if you can stay in your field, then that's amazing. So potentially you could do, some online offering, such as kind of like digital workshops, or, I know a lot of people have been kind of teaching people over Zoom. Another way of doing it is to still get people to invest in your business by either buying gift cards. So when you do reopen, you've got, people are still investing in your business, although they can't actually visit your premises or buy from you. So yeah, that's what I would say. And you just have to be, I think in these times, invention is a big word. It pushes you to invent. And I know a lot of us might be completely exhausted and just, be a little bit overwhelmed by having to pivot. I think that's the thing. Pivoting, I think the word has lots of connotations where it means that it's going to be a real struggle. You've got to do another business plan. It takes a lot of work. And I think that stops people from doing anything, and then they stay stuck. So it's just doing something that is going to work for you. It's flexible where you currently are. You might have, children to look after, or, so you have to do something that's going to work for you and is manageable and actionable, otherwise you're not going to do it. So for me, I went into flower bouquet delivery, and I teamed up with a local a coffee shop that was open, and I kind of sat there once a week with my pre-orders, and I met people. Normally I work with a lot of clients, so it was just nice to meet people who just wanted flowers. So just have a think about what else you could do. And then, again, it's a great thing to ask your peers in the industry. If you have like a support network, see what your other people in your industry are doing. And I think that's really important as well, because I reached out a lot to other florists, and we had just like great discussions about what we were going to do. So I think that's really valuable as well. But try not to feel too scared about it. Try not to feel too overwhelmed, and just make sure you're pivoting or changing your business in a way that suits you, and you will pivot back. If you really don't, I've spoken to a lot of people, they really don't actually like the way they've had to pivot to, which is fine. You will go back to how your business was. You might not want to keep everything, all the changes in place, and that's fine too. So just remember, this is a point in time, and it will change, hopefully, fingers crossed. And then the next question is, what is your favourite SumUp product and why? And actually, just linking back to what I said earlier about gift cards, they have an amazing system where you can set up a gift card just by a link via the app. So this is brilliant, because as I said before, if you're not able to actually sell your service, you can get people to invest in your business by buying a gift card, it's brilliant, and it's so simple. It's just a link. That's it. They literally can go in, you send them a link, they go in, they put all their details in, how much they want. They can even send it to themselves. They can gift it to themselves if they want. And so because it's just a user-generated link, you can put that on your website, you can put it on your newsletter, you can share it on social media. So it's just a really, really quick way to inject some revenue into your business. And also, people want to support, like people want to buy from you. If you've been going for a while, you'll have people who, don't want to see you, not be able to trade anymore. And I think out of everything, community has really come together, and it's just lovely seeing people really investing in small business. So I would definitely use that. And there's like no monthly cost. There's just a small transaction fee. And it's super, super simple to set up. Thank you so much for listening. I've just, loved getting all your questions, and I'm really passionate about helping small business. So I really hope that this has been useful for you.